الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected brothers and sisters. Fadila of Allah, the Izzat of Al-Alameen. Even though our heart's broken because we have literally 4 or 5 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes remaining, in this beautiful month, and unfortunately we're not, at least myself, haven't taken advantage of the full aspect of this month. But inshallah, the ulama, they say it's how you end. The khatimah that you do is what's going to count. So inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst those who are accepted in terms of our ibadah, whose not just ibadah is accepted, our sadaqah, our deeds, our actions, but more importantly, that we have an increase of iman, and that iman carries us throughout the year. That's going to be the most important thing. Now, there are a number of ayahs that I want to go through. However, I won't be able to, unfortunately. But there's something that really struck me. And as I've said, that this year's theme is going to be the spiritual aspects and reflecting on the ayahs of Quran that I have actually seen in my life, that I've implemented, and I've seen a significant, not significant, an actual implementation of the ayahs and how it's affected me. And today we read a surah which is very profound. A surah so much so that for those of us that take from the fiqh of Imam Abu Hanifa, we, as I've mentioned, the fiqh of Imam Abu Hanifa is based predominantly on the teachings and the hadith and the observation of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, and what he observed directly from the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this incident takes place between Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, again, one of the 4 Abdullahs that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that after me, if you want to learn about deen, you go and you talk to one of the 4 Abdullahs. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu being one of them. And the second conversation that takes place with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, the counterparty that's having the conversation is the one that was known as the one who had been given Zawjain, the 2 daughters of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was given them, being Uthman radiallahu anhu. Now you can imagine the magnitude and the level that these 2 are on. And this is happening in the Khilafah, in the time that Uthman radiallahu anhu is the Khalif, and he was the 3rd Khalif. And the incident that happens is, word gets to Uthman radiallahu anhu that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu is extremely sick, and he's actually on his deathbed. And Uthman radiallahu anhu immediately goes and he tends to go see Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. Now pay attention to this conversation that takes place. Uthman radiallahu anhu, he goes to him and he says, "Oh my brother, what is happening? What's your condition?" And he said that, "I am very sick." And he says, "What is the sickness?" And he says that it's due to my sins. Ya subhanallah. It is due to my sins. This is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that after me, if you want to seek knowledge, he's one of the Abdullahs you're going to go to. Uthman radiallahu anhu, he says to him, he says, "Is there anything I can do for you? Do you want anything?" Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he says, "I just want rahmah, Allah's rahmah." And he says, Uthman then says, "Shall I call a doctor for you?" And he says, "It's the doctor that has given me the ailment." And subhanallah. SubhanAllah, completely at a different level. And then he says that, look, let me send you something from Bayt al-Mal, from the treasury. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says, there's no need for it. I don't need anything from the treasury. I don't need any wealth or any money. Uthman, worried about the women, the sisters, his daughters, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, daughters. He says, please take from the treasury that I am giving you. You have 2 daughters, and if you are to pass away, you will be able to pass this on to them. Now listen to the response of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. He says, Ya Uthman, he says, I am not worried about what's going to happen to my daughters after I pass away. I am not worried about this. You know why? Because I have made sure that every one of my children has memorized Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and they are to recite it every single night. Kullu layalin. That they will recite this every single night before going to sleep. And I've heard from the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the one who recites Surah Al-Waqi'ah every single night, that person will never suffer from poverty and will never go poor. I have given them the wealth and the treasures, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of them. Surah Al-Waqi'ah literally consists of 4 pages. 4 pages. And once you've got it memorized, if you're reading it properly, it should not take you more than 7 to 8 minutes long. Maybe 10 minutes if you're going to read it properly with the tweet. Maximum. So before you go to ask, and by the way, for those that are going to question the authenticity, because I know there are people that say, oh, but you know, where is it? Where's the hadith and all this other stuff? Go look it up in Ibn Kathir. Imam Ibn Kathir has narrated it, and it's been authenticated by Imam Askari. So it is authenticated, and look at this now. Many times, us as imams, I will get a call, Sheikh, give me a wazifa, give me an adhkar that I can recite because I am struggling with wealth. Sheikh, I'm in debt. What should I do? How do I get out of it? And subhanAllah, we have a simple way of taking care of it, and we don't even have to ask anyone. The prescription is there. The prescription is there. It's whether we're using the prescription or not. And that's reciting of Surah Al-Waqi'ah. And subhanAllah, there's an example that I give. So there was once a man, and this is not from hadith, this is just an example that I give. So there was once a man who was extremely sick. He went to every single doctor looking for a cure, and every doctor would give him and prescribe him something, but he was not getting cured. And then he came across someone who said that, look, I was just as sick. There's a doctor in Fulan area on Fulan mountain. You need to go to him and speak to him. I promise you, he will give you the right prescription. So this man musters up courage. He goes to that doctor and he speaks to that doctor. And the doctor says, I have a very simple medication for you. He pulls out his pad, you know what I mean? And he says, now write this down. He tells a person to write it down. And he starts to dictate the prescription. And the man writes down the prescription, and the man looks at the prescription, and the doctor says to him, you follow this, I promise you, your sickness will go away. I swear by Allah, your sickness will go away. The man gets so happy. Now, if you're OCD like me, right, you're going to be worried, oh man, what if I'm walking and the rain comes and the prescription gets ruined, right? So what does this man do? He goes and he makes another copy of the prescription, and then he makes another copy of the prescription. Then he goes and he makes like 10 photocopies of the prescription. Now I'm okay. And then he puts it in different places, right? When he gets home, he goes around telling every one of his friends, even those that are suffering with the same sickness, he goes to them and he says, I found the cure. Here is the cure, and he gives it to them. But subhanAllah, this man is giving the cure to everyone. And he's so happy, he just starts, you know how you do Post-its? That, oh, I've got to get milk, and people put it on their fridge. You know, just to remind him, he's doing these Post-its everywhere. You know, at the door, he sticks the prescription up on the door to make sure he's taking it. Puts it on the refrigerator door, puts it, even in his house, he's got it hung up, just to remember that this is what I need to do in order for me to get well. This is my prescription, because he's been suffering for so long. But he's not getting better. Yet some of the people that he's given the prescription to, he sees that they're getting better. But he's not getting better. And he doesn't understand why. You know who that man is? You know who that man is? Or that person is? It's us. You know who the doctor was? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You know what the prescription is? The Quran. We have the Quran. It's a cure and an answer to every single sickness and every hardship that we've got. And we know it. So what do? Dua for entering the bathroom, we've got it on our door. Dua for leaving the house, we've got it on our door. Dua for entering the house, we've got it on our door. The thing to protect us from evil eye. You go to the Muslim countries, you'll see, MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah, just written on the house. You know, subhanAllah, you walk inside of someone's house, they've got frames, beautiful frames with calligraphy. Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Nas, Surah Falaq. Why? Because this is what's going to protect us. Falaq and Nas is what's going to protect us from evil eye, hasad, and even black magic. And it's on our walls. We look at it every single day. The Quran is sitting on our shelves. It's sitting on our shelves. And subhanAllah, yet we are still afflicted with whatever difficulties we're going through. You know why? Similar to what that man was doing. He had the prescription, but he didn't take the medicine. And that's us. We have the cure. We just don't use it. You have an issue with problems in spousal problems, where husband or wife is not really treating one another that well, or you have a boss that has anger towards you or hates you, and you just don't understand, what have I done to this person? Why is this person so mean to me? Guess what? If you read the same ayah that Musa alayhi salam's mom read when she was throwing Musa alayhi salam into the river, right before the river literally takes him from his home and it stops in front of the house of the same person that wants to kill him, which is Fir'aun. But she reads, وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَىٰ عَيْنِي. That with Allah's watchful eye of love, I will watch over him with my watchful eye of love. And anyone that looks upon him, they will have to look upon him through my eyes, through that eyes of love. So guess what? Fir'aun sees the baby boy. Asya picks him up and is like, wow. And she falls in love with him. Fir'aun hears him crying, Musa alayhi salam crying. He comes up because he's like, I'm going to kill this boy. And yet he gets in front of him, he looks at him and he goes, I want to kill him, but God, he's so cute. The ayah and his protection. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam leaving when they've surrounded the house to kill him. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. Allah blinds them. لا يبصرون. They can't even see, and he just walks through. No one harms him. And that ayah is available for us. That ayah is available for us. We have problems. Today we read in the 27th juz, Rabbi anni maghlubun fantasir, that oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make this path, whatever path I'm going through, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make this path easy for me. How many of us make that dua in our tahajjud, in our sajda? When we're making dua, how many of us, whenever we're about to embark on a new project or a new whatever, business or whatever, how many of us make the dua, Rabbi anni maghlubun fantasir. Oh Allah, make it easy for me. Ala an nubaddila minhum wa ma nahnu bimasbuqin. That khayran minhum wa ma nahnu bimasbuqin. That we're going to read in the 29 juz. That oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do badal of my situation. Change the situation that I am in and make it of khair, make it of ease. It's in the Quran. We are struggling with poverty. Read the Quran. Go read Surah Al-Waqiyah. And inside of Surah Al-Waqiyah, now it's amazing because we've got 3 categories in Surah Al-Waqiyah. There are 3 categories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. There are the ones that are going to be on the right side of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ فِي سِدْرٍ مَخْدُودٍ وَطَلْحٍ مَمْدُودٍ وَمَاءٍ مَسْكُوبٍ. Ya subhanallah. And guess what? They're going to be the people of Jannah. The ones that are going to come from the right, they are going to be the people of Jannah. And subhanallah, on the day of judgment, when Allah, we're going to see Allah's arsh, they're going to come out from the right side. And guess what? When they were extracted from Adam alayhi salam, they came from Adam alayhi salam's right side of his loins. Subhanallah. Then you have the Ashab al-Shimal. Those that are on they're going to get their book of deeds on the left side. Guess where they're going to go? Jahannam. And they're going to come out from the left side of the Arsh of Allah. How many categories do we have? 2. Now, this is the difference, because a lot of the other religions, they say, oh, you got the purgatory ones. The ones that are just hanging in the middle. No. That's not category number 3. There's no such thing as that category. There is وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ فِي جَنَّاتِ النَّعِيمِ. Allah, they are going to be the ones that are going to come in front of the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And guess what? On the day of judgment, on the day of judgment, we will know that the first one to be clothed, remember, we're going to be completely naked on the day of judgment. Completely naked. But yet the light is going to be taken away where we're not going to be able to see one another. But when the first person that is going to be clothed is going to be who? Who's going to be the first person that's going to get the clothing? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No. Ibrahim alayhi salam. You want to know why? You want to know why Ibrahim alayhi salam is going to be the one that's going to be the first to be clothed? Because in dunya, the people of Ibrahim alayhi salam wanted to embarrass him so much. They were so angry with him that they had stripped him completely naked when they put him on Minjanik, when they put him on the catapult. So as a favor and as an elevation of that embarrassment that he had to go through, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to call Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he's going to bring him forth, and they're going to be from amongst the first, the category that is right in front of the arsh of Allah. And the ones that are going to be on the arsh of Allah, that are going to be those that are the sabiqun, ulaika al-muqarrabun, they're going to be who? They're going to be not just the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just the anbiya. They're also going to be those that are the mujahid, those that have died in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are going to be those also that are close to Allah. They're close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means the doors for us to be in that category are open. It's not just closed to the messengers and those that have passed away for the sake of Allah. It is there, but can we get to that level? Can we become the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And you know, everyone keeps saying, how do you become a friend of Allah? It's simple, but hard to do. It's simple, but hard to do. When you want to become someone's friend, what do? You open up to them completely. And you accept what your friend is going to give you in terms of advice. Even if that advice goes against that desire and that nafs that you want, you still accept it in order to correct yourself. Why? Because the friend that is a true friend will advise you that which is not going to do something where you're going to do something wrong. And then when you take friendship with Allah Rabbul Izzah Rabbul Alameen, la ilaha illallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you take a step towards me, I'll come walking towards you. You come walking towards me, I'll come running towards you. You come running towards me, I will carry you. I will become the eyes by which you see, the tongue by which you speak, the hands by which you grasp, and the legs by which you walk. SubhanAllah. Can you imagine reaching that state? That when you look at anything in your life, whatever work, business, relationships, whatever you do, first you think, what does the Quran say? Because that is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the words of Allah. What does the Quran say? And how can I implement that Quran in my life? How do I talk to this person based off of what the Quran has taught me? If I'm doing a business deal, am I doing this according to the way the Quran has taught me to do? Have I written down my contract? Is there an agreement that is done? Is there a consensus and an understanding from both parties? Is there any ambiguity that's remaining? Is the contract halal or is it haram? Is the loan halal or is it haram? Am I fulfilling the deeds? Am I fulfilling that contract? Am I giving the due that contract is supposed to be? And that contract doesn't just have to be a business deal. That contract connotates a number of things. Not just an employment contract, not just a business deal, not just when you're purchasing a home, not just when you're purchasing a car, but even when you get married, guess what? You are entering into a contract. But the biggest contract that we entered into was Alastu bi Rabbikum qalu bala. On the day when we were on the plane of souls, Allahumma arwah, when we were there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked, who is your Rabb? Am I your Rabb? And we all said, Bala, yes Allah, you are our Rabb. So we went into a contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the greatest contract that we need to fulfill. We want the treasures of this dunya, but more importantly, if we want to be from amongst the sabiqun, ulaika al-muqarrabun, to be in that third category, yes, entry into Jannah is awesome. If we make it to Jannah, alhamdulillah, we should be grateful. But I don't like selling myself short. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to get something, I want to be the best at whatever I can do. It's just something that my teachers have instilled in me. If I'm going to do something, I want to be the best at whatever I'm doing. So if I'm going to worship Allah, I want to be the best at worshiping Allah. If I want to recite Quran, I want to be the best at reciting Quran. If I'm going to give a talk about Allah, I want to be the best at giving a talk about Allah. If I want to go and have that relationship with Allah and I want to ask Allah and beg Him for something, I want to be better than any of the beggars that are out there in the world because I want to be up top with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the way we should all be. Each and every one of us should be that way. And now I'm going to give you a secret. If you're ever competing with someone, or if you want to be the best at whatever you want to be, do you know that there's an adhkar that the Prophet ﷺ said? That if you, Sulaiman grabbed this from ready to type away. You know, the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said that the one who reads La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamd, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Not with yuhyi wa yumeet, but wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. If he reads that 100 times in a day, one of the rewards, there are a number of rewards. One of the rewards is that No one will be better than you at anything that you do except for the one who's read that more than you. So I remember, this is where I should kind of chill out in giving away some secrets. But I remember when we were we were being selected on which masjid you're going to go to and stuff, Tarawih and stuff. I remember the day before when we were going to do our recitations, I read that like 300 or 400 times. I was like, oh, I want to go to the one that I want to go to that's inside of it. I don't want to go outside the state. So I read that and I got first dibs. So I got to stay home and I was like, oh, this works, right? So from that time, subhanAllah, I use it anytime. And I'm telling you guys a major secret of mine, right? I use this all the time. Why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that if you read this, this is what's going to work. Now today, subhanAllah, I was at the brink of almost sobbing. And I had to literally get up and just walk out because I didn't want to start crying to a point where it got loud and disturbing the imam in reading, because it reminded me of an incident that, subhanAllah, pained me so much. But I thank that teacher for putting me through that pain, that it got me to a level that I got to. There's an ayah in the Quran. And again, I'm saying something very personal that I normally don't share with people. My children know this when I'm telling them and encouraging them to memorize. My wife knows this. My mom, my dad, my sister, and 2 of my teachers know this. And today, I guess the world is going to know. But subhanAllah, today in Surah Qamar, at the end of Surah Qamar, there's an ayah that was recited. And I remember, I was a kid. I was a young kid that just fell in love with the Quran. When I went to the Haram, I was 6 years old, and Sheikh Ali Jabir, Allah yarhamu, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him Jannah and bless him. Sheikh Ali Jabir was the Imam of the Haram at that time. This is going back in the 80s, right? And Sheikh Ali Jabir was leading all 20 rakats. And at that time, when you went for Umrah, it was empty. It was not like it is like this packed. The marbles and all this stuff that you see, you had stairs going down to the Zamzam well, you had all kinds of stuff. You even had the mihrab that was in the middle of the mataf, before they took it down. And subhanAllah, I remember we were there, me and my sister, who was I think like 1.5, 2, and I'm holding on, and we got separated from my parents. She's crying. Now, my mom and my dad, one thing that I remembered them doing is when they would put me on their lap to put me to sleep, I still remembered where they would go, La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. And that's how they would make me go to sleep. And that's how they would make my sister go to sleep. So I'm walking, we're lost. And it was after Salat al-Dhuhr, and it's hot. And I still remember this vividly, where I'm walking with her, and subhanAllah, I'm reciting La ilaha illallah. And this is right after Salah, and Sheikh Ali Jabir doesn't come with a whole army of police officers. Literally, 2 officers were with him. And they didn't even look like they were in the shimab and the thobe. And he comes by, and Allah just made us be there. I don't want to say it was coincidence or by luck we were there, because that's shirk. Allah made us be there by His qadr. And he comes down, because my sister's crying, and he bends down, and he says something in Arabic. And I'm like, I don't speak your language. And I remember this, I could still see him. And Allah made it where he spoke English. And I said, we're lost. And he said, what's your name? So I told him my name, Feroz. Right? I don't know who this guy is. This is, my sister's crying, I'm worried. And he said to me, he goes, don't worry, we'll find your mom and dad. And he says, can you read Quran for me? So, got the courage, and I read, and guess who I imitated? Sheikh Ali Jabir. I imitate the guy who's asking me. So I was like, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, like out of my nose, because that's how he reads. And he gets so happy. That and my dad came over at that time. And he gets so happy, he says to my dad, my dua is that this boy becomes hafiz and his voice is heard around the world. And I can tell you that that dua, there's not a masjid that Allah has taken me to, with the exception of Masjid al-Haram, Makkah and Medina, where Allah has not made me lead the salah there. Not a masjid that I've gone to, a major masjid that I have not done. And subhanAllah, I still remember that, but that made the zeal of me wanting to become a hafiz even more. So now I have this want and desire to become a hafiz. I go back to Atlanta, there's no madrasa there. There's no madrasa in Atlanta. My dad asks Sheikh Adnan to teach me Quran, and I start to learn with him. And my mom, may Allah give her health, long life, may Allah bless her, and my dad, subhanAllah, used to drive me 1 hour down to downtown, sit for 45 minutes to an hour, and drive me 1 hour back, and then come home and do the rest of the cooking and all the stuff that someone does at home. SubhanAllah, that sacrifice that you made for me. But Sheikh Adnan, I go through and I learned, the 30th juz. And then SubhanAllah, I got transferred over to another teacher. And I'll never forget, because I used to struggle with memorizing. I had a major issue with memorizing. And I'm telling the story to those that want to memorize Quran, and you're struggling to even memorize, 2-3 ayahs. I was struggling to memorize half an ayah a day. Half an ayah. And I remember one of my teachers, he said to me, he said to someone, and I overheard it, he said, he's too thick-headed. He will never memorize Quran. That pain that I went through. 2 days later, we go in Jamaat, and we went to an ijtima. And I was laying down, and I'm still hearing that ringing in my ears. And I was bawling my eyes out. And I went to sleep crying because the Imam was reading the Quran so beautifully for Fajr. And I went to sleep after Fajr, but I went to sleep making dua, saying, Ya Allah, please, I beg you to allow me to become a hafiz. I want to memorize the Quran. I know I'm stupid, oh Allah. Maybe I can't do it, but oh Allah, I just want you to help me do it. And I went to sleep crying. And subhanAllah, that morning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed me a dream where a man came and I'm laying down, and I'm laying down on grass. And this man comes over who has a turban on, takes his turban and he puts it next to me, and he starts to massage my head. And he just keeps reading one ayah. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. He's reading this ayah the whole time, and he's massaging my head. I woke up, and I had this ayah memorized. And I went to the other teacher, and I said, Sheikh, what does this mean? I didn't know it was an ayah of Quran. And I said, Sheikh, what does this mean? And he said to me, he said, Allah is saying that I have made the Quran easy for you to memorize. So who amongst you will do this? My teacher, he said to me, he said, what are you worried about? Do you know what Allah has just shown you? Whatever you're worried about, Allah is going to allow you to memorize this Quran. Now this teacher of mine is a new teacher of mine that doesn't know what the other one has said. That gave me so much motivation. I became obsessed with memorizing the Quran. I became obsessed with it. And I said, if Allah is going to send me someone, an ayah that I've never even read, I'd read it when I did the completion of the reading of the Quran, but I didn't remember it. But Allah shows me that dream and I wake up with that memorized. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is whatever situation we're in, if we sincerely turn to Allah and we sincerely seek from Allah and say, Ya Allah, help me. The whole world, even the closest people that you think are close to you, that care about you, but have doubts in you, they can all be on one side. But if Allah ordains for something, and if your heart is set on something that you want to do and you want to achieve, and it's for the sake of Allah, I promise you, Allah Rabbul Izzah Rabbul Alameen, He will take care of you and He will accept that for you. I promise you this. I promise this. Because Allah allowed me not just to finish this, but also to gain an understanding of what was being read. And if you look at the dua that was made, believe me, we have to be very careful when we speak to people that are connected to the Quran. And they don't have to be someone that is an imam. It's not just an imam. It can be some regular person that we think is just regular on the street. But that person can have such a connection with the Quran that when they make dua for someone or something, it's immediately accepted. And also, for those of us that are parents, we also have to take heed to the way we speak to our children. You want to be from amongst the sabiqun, ulaik al-muqarrabun, then we have to start to take on their traits. And their traits were, they treated the children with the same level of respect that they treated the adults. They gave the same maqam, the same love that they give to their contemporaries, and they did that with the children. Our society as an ummah, we are struggling, and the reason why we're struggling is because we break our children down before they even become adults. We put them down so much. Oh, you're such an idiot. God, you're so stupid. You know that is poison. You're literally putting poison in their ears, and you're destroying the very children that are going to carry on with the torch of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. They're going to be the torchbearers of our deen. And we as an ummah are struggling because we've got everyone else telling us that we are inferior. Why? And by the way, we read these ayahs yesterday. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ya ayyuhan nas, He doesn't say, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. He doesn't say, oh, you believe. He's calling out to all of mankind. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. That I have created you into different nations and tribes, only so that you can have ta'aruf, that you can identify, oh, this person is from here, here, here. But Allah says that I order you and I judge you based off of you and your deeds. Doesn't care about anything else. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us for, and we're one. And if we treat each other that way, we treat our children that way, imagine what the ummah is going to be. Imagine we stop running after political systems, leaders, and begging those people that are creations for help with all the oppression that's going on in the world, rather than going to those systems who have personal agendas and personal views on who should be what and how and where and how we're going to categorize them, and we just go to the one who created us, drop the creation, go to the creator, go directly to the source and ask the source, we need your help. Don't you think Allah's going to help out? We read the story of David and Goliath, of Dawood and Jalut, a force that no one could imagine is going to fall down, let alone with just a few people that are remaining in the army, and let alone one individual that is going to come and throw one stone, and that's going to be the end of the superpower, known as Goliath. But the key is your istiqamah and your belief in Allah. And it's how much of this beautiful kitab, of these words of Allah, we place inside of our hearts. If you and I make sure that we are taking care of this kitab, and it's not just a book that I read for barakah, it's not just a book that I read because I want something good to come out, or because of someone's death, or because I'm going to do someone's khatam or anniversary, or I'm going to read because someone's bought a new house, or I'm reading because someone else has bought, or there's a masjid opening. And subhanAllah, we read it for all the wrong reasons. If we read it to understand it, and we read it to implement it, then you'll see a difference in our lives. And we'll see a difference in the Ummah of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm not going to pick on the accountant here, but all of us want to make sure we save on our taxes. So we read the tax code. We read, if I give £1, I get gift aid, it's £2, and I get a deduction, and this and that. SubhanAllah, we read it to the T. We read for it to benefit us, because it affects our wealth. What about the wealth? Not just in dunya but akhirah. So read the Quran and become wealthy. Read the Quran and become happy. Read the Quran and gain its mercy. Read the Quran and improve your relationship. Read the Quran and improve that relationship with your children. Read the Quran and become a better person. And when we become a better person, and the next person looks at it, and the next person looks at it, then we become a means of hidayah and guidance. And then you become a radiating light and a source of comfort. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us from amongst those who are always obedient to Allah, always seeking forgiveness with Allah, always engaged in the adhkar of Allah, and more importantly, most importantly, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to become Ahlul Quran, allow us to become a walking, breathing, living Quran, in order for us to be able to mimic Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inshallah. Let's go ahead and do the adhkar, and then by the way, I heard some sisters didn't get to do salat al-tasbih, and I had a couple of text messages asking if they can do it again, because they couldn't hear the sajda. So you're in charge of the qiyam, so I'm taking it back. But unfortunately, yesterday they were caught up, or the mic cut out. Right?
Yeah, you go whatever you want to do.
I don't know. Where are we at right now? We're finishing. We're going to finish on Saturday, 30th.
Do you know what that's?
Yeah, you guys can go for it. Whatever you guys want to do. Yeah, I'll leave you in charge, inshallah. Let's go and do the adhkar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First, we're going to start with the 10. We'll start with the adhkar of the 10. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, and then Subhanallah, al-Qudus. And then we'll do the 100 salawat, inshallah. سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر سبحان الملك القدوس 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل وسلم اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. By the way, unni for yourself, anna, because I'm doing it in Jama. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا 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 اللهم إنك عفو كريم حليم عظيم تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا مولانا محمد. Ready?